This video is for Algebra Section 8.3. The learner will apply knowledge of scientific notation to translate between standard and scientific notation and simplify scientific notation. So that is what you will be doing. Our vocabulary, the only vocabulary term we have is scientific notation. That is just a number in the form a times 10 to the nth power, where a has to be between 1 and 10. So basically this number right here has to be between 1 and 10, so it can be one number, one digit, and then a decimal, and anything else will go after it, times 10 to some power. Okay, the notes that you will need when moving from scientific notation to standard notation. A positive exponent tells you how many places to move to the right. Negative exponent tells you how many places to move the decimal to the left. Okay, so an example of that, if I wrote down the number from scientific to standard, if I had something like 7.02 times 10 to the negative fourth. It's a negative exponent, so that tells me how many places the decimal moves to the left. So I would move it 1, 2, 3, 4. Decimal's going to be here. I fill in those holes with zeros. So my answer would have been 0.000702. All right. Moving from standard to scientific is basically backwards. Positive exponent tells you how many move to the left. A negative exponent tells you how many places you move the decimal to the right. So again, sort of backwards. So I would have something like 3,241. And if I wanted that in scientific notation, my decimal is here. I had to move it 1, 2, 3 places to get it to be between 1 and 10. So that would be 3.241 times 10. And it's left, so it's positive. I went left 1, 2, 3 places, so it's positive third. All right. Moving on, some example problems. And actually, before I move on, prerequisite skills should be basically adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, and moving decimals, counting. All right. So some examples. Number 1 on the first page. They have 3.65 times 10 to the 5th, and they want you to make that into standard. So 10 to the 5th tells me I move this 5 places to the right. So I'd have 3.65, move it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fill in with zeros. So I have 365,000. Number 3. I have 8.003 times 10 to the 8th. Same idea. I have 8.003. Move it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Fill in 1, 2, 3, 5 zeros there. 800300000. Make sure you put in the commas. Count from the right. In every 3 spaces, you put a comma. Number 5. 5.91 times 10 to the 0. Means I move the decimal 0 places, so I don't have to move it. It's 5.91. Number 7. 8.9354 times 10 to the 10th. Means I'm going to move that decimal 10 places to the right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Fill in any zeros you need to, and then rewrite it. Make sure you rewrite it. If you leave that work step as your answer, I will mark it wrong. And you also need to put in the commas. Number 9. 4 times 10 to the 15th. So the decimal is here, even though you can't see it, it's always at the end of the number. So 4. I'm going to move it 15 places, so you really don't have any work here because it's nothing else there, just 15 zeros. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So comma, 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 comma. Okay, those were all moving from scientific to standard. Number 11 is moving from from standard to scientific. So 0.00001. I would want this to be after the 1 to make it between 1 and 10. So I need it to be 1 times 10 because it's 1. And I move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places. And I move 5 places to the right, so that is a negative 5 in this case. Number 13. And I believe there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then a 12. So again, I would want it to move until I make this number between 1 and 10. Right there would make it 1.2. So 1.2 times 10. I moved 9 zeros and then one more place. So 10 power, negative 10 because I moved to the right. Number 15. 0.03621. Again, I would want to move it till it's between 1 and 10. That would be right there. So it's 3.621 times 10 to the 1, 2, and it's negative second because it's negative. Number 17. We have 0.0042 times 10 to the negative third. So this is basically it's not standard form or scientific, it's just some weird form. What you should do first, negative third tells you you move the decimal to the left. So put it into standard form first. So I'm going to take this and move 1, 2, 3 places. So I'm going to point 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 5 zeros, 4, 2. That's my standard number. Then I would move it over until the number is between 1 and 10. So 4.2 times 10 to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places. So negative 6th. All right, moving on to the second page. On the second page, they are multiplying scientific notation and dividing scientific notation. Number 1, you have 1.4 times 10 to the 4th over 2 times 10 to the 2nd. Every one of these problems we're going to split into two. I have my numbers, oops, and I have my tens. That was a 10. All right, so I need to do 1.4 divided by 2, so 1.4 divided by 2, and decimals there. 2 to 14 goes 7 times. So I got 0.7 times 10 to the 4 minus 2 because this is division, so 10 to the 2nd power. All right, let's get rid of my work so it's not in the way. Again, that is not scientific or standard form. Easiest way to change that, move this 2 places to get your regular number. So 1, 2 would be 70. That's my regular standard number. Then I want to put it in scientific notation, which would move my decimal here. So 7.0, which you don't need to write. You can just leave it as 7 times 10. I had to move it 1 place, right? So 10 to the 1st. And 70. These were both my answers, scientific and standard. Number 3. This one is multiplication, same idea. And again, I'm going to split it into 2 problems. So I can do 3.2 times 2, which is 2.0, it's the same thing. And then 10 to the negative 2nd times 10 to the 2nd. 3.2 times 2 gives me 6.4. And negative 2 plus 2 gives me 0. So that is scientific notation. It happened to come out perfect already. And then I need standard notation. If it says to move it 0 places, 6.4 is my standard. So these 2 are my answers. On to number 5. Number 5, we have 7.7 times 10 to the 5th and 2.1 times 10 squared. Again, I would split it, 7.7 times 2.1 and 10 to the 5th times 10 squared. And I don't know what 7.7 times 2.1 is, so I'm going to do that. That gives me 7 and 7 and 0, 14 and 15. 7, 11, 6, 1, 2 decimal places, so 16.17 times 5 plus 2 gives me 10 to the 7th. All right. Again, this is not scientific or standard, so I need to fix that. 10 to the 7th means I move it 7 places to the right, so it's going to be 1, 2, and then 5 more zeros. So 1, 6, 1, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's my standard answer. Scientific, I would want to move it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That would put it between 1 and 10. So I moved it 8 places, so 10 to the 8th. And it should be 1.617. So again, those are my two answers. Number 7 is 3.3 times 10 to the 5th times 1.5 times 10 to the negative 4th. Again, I need to do the work, so 3.3 times 1.5 in 2 decimal places. So when I multiplied my numbers, I'm going to get 4.95. Then 10 to the 5th times 10 to the negative 4th is 10 to the 5 plus negative 4 is 1. And again, if it came out with just one digit, it's between 4.95, it's between 1 and 10. Then that's already in scientific. Standard means I move this one place to the right. So I would have 49.5 as my actual answer. Both of those are my answers. On to number 9. Number 9, I have 4 times 10 to the negative 4th over 2.5 times 10 squared. So split it again, kind of section those off so you can tell what you're doing. 4 divided by 2.5, if you don't know, you do this. Put a 0, move the decimal. 25 into 40 goes once, that's 25. Subtract, you get 15. Put a 0, bring it down. 25 into 150 goes 6 times. So I got 1.6 times 10. Negative 4 minus 2 should be negative 6. And that one does happen to come out in scientific notation, again, because it's between 1 and 10. And if I want it in standard, I need to move it 6 places to the left, which means I have to go around the 1 and 5 more. So point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 6. Those are both my answer. Number 11. We have 6.25. It says if the United States produced 6.25 times 10 to the 9th barrels of crude oil in 1998, and Canada produced 1.98 times 10 to the 9th barrels, what is the quotient of their production rates? So in other words, divide. All right. So underneath is 1.98 times 10 to the 9th. Again, you've got to do some long division. 6.25 divided by 1.95. Oops, sorry, 1.98. Move that 2 places. Decimal goes up. 198 is about 200. Into 625 should go 3 times. That's 24. 9 times 3 is 27, plus 2 is 29. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. Subtract. 1, 3, 31. Put a 0, bring that down. Should go in once. It's 198. That should be 12. Sorry, 112. And a 0. And 198 into this should go about 5 times. 5 times 8 is 40. 45 plus 4 is 49. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 4 is 9. Wait, what did I miss? 5 times 8 is 40. Got it. 5 times 9 is 45. Plus 4 was 49. That's right. So that's 9. That's 0. 12 minus 9 is 3. 10 minus 9 would be 1. And I'm going to go one more place so that I can round it correctly. And I should know if I put that in there, it's going to be something bigger so I can round up. So about 3.16. And 10 to the 9th over 10 to the 9th. 9 minus 9 is 0. 10 to the 0 power. Which again means if I don't have to move it at all, that is already scientific. Standard is just 3.16. And that is the end of section 8.3.